Welcome to Taking Stock. I'm Amanda Lang. Coming up on the show, should Canada withhold energy supplies to the U.S. if a trade war materializes? And rents are falling while home prices continue to be high. So is it time to rethink renting? Plus, life after the military, an organization that promises new skills for veterans. That's all ahead. First, for the week that was in business, it's time for the briefs. The cost of renting is falling in Canada, down 3.2% from a year prior, according to rentals.ca. The average rent across all housing types was $2,109 in December, a 17-month low. The pace of the decline varied widely across Canada, with rents in some centres, like Toronto, falling by double digits, while places that didn't see the same affordability crisis, like Saskatoon and Winnipeg, falling by less. Rents are still 16.8% higher than they were 5 years ago. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he will roll back the capital gains inclusion increase if he forms the next government. That provides some clarity to taxpayers. However, many have been paying the increase already, as CRA is collecting it as if it were law. Presumably, refunds would be issued at a later date, no doubt without interest. 2024 was a record year for insurance payouts in Canada, hitting $8.5 billion as natural disasters like Calgary's hailstorm, the Jasper wildfire, and flooding in southern Ontario racked up a host of new costly events. The next highest annual payout was 2016 at $6.2 billion. The industry is warning that premiums are likely to rise as the insured losses hit the bottom line. Canadians hoping to get a subsidy for their new electric vehicle could soon be out of luck. The federal program is running out of money and is not slated for renewal. The program provides rebates of up to $5,000 for EVs. It's paid out for the purchase of some 546,000 cars since its creation in 2019. Ontario Premier Doug Ford warned that 500,000 jobs could be lost in Ontario alone if Donald Trump follows through on his threat of tariffs. The warnings came as the premiers met with each other and with the Prime Minister this week in person to discuss a strategy for handling tariffs. The government is preparing a list of potential U.S. targets worth up to $150 billion in trade. And those are your business briefs. So how can energy and electricity play a positive role in shaping our relationship with a fractious White House? Stephen Lecce is Minister of Energy and Electrification of Ontario. Thanks for being with us, Minister.
Good to be back.
We have seen in the wake of these threats of tariff coming from the U.S., the notion that we might use as a bargaining tool or leverage, not sending electricity or oil to the U.S. Is there a more positive spin we can put on that? How do we use these resources as a bargaining chip in what could be a trade battle?
The Premier outlined the Fortress MCAN strategy, which is really predicated on the belief that we have the value proposition that the U.S. needs now more than ever with respect to access to critical minerals, energy, petroleum, natural gas. They need all of the above, particularly on the critical minerals side, which is within Ontario in the Ring of Fire, where we have Class 1 nickel and cobalt and rare earths like titanium that are fundamental to the aerospace and military development of those industries in the U.S. And so from a national security and economic prosperity perspective, the Premier's vision is further economic and energy integration by giving accelerated access or preferential access with acceleration of resource development of those commodities and sending them south. So we think this can help avert the tariff, or at the very least make clear to the U.S. that they need a democratic partner. Because if it's not from us, they're buying natural resources from Iran or Russia or Venezuela, and I would submit it is much better to go with a democratic ally like Canada.
The Premier also talked about some pretty steep job loss expectations if we see the worst case scenario, 500,000 Ontario jobs alone. You can also imagine, Minister, a chill on investment in this country from the very people we need to be investing in things like our critical mineral mining. How do you reassure partners in things like that we're still going to be able to function and sell goods to our biggest trading partner?
Well, first off, Ontario and Canada have worked on trade diversification in the Asia Pacific and Europe and other foreign emerging markets. So we are ensuring that our exports can continue to access different fast-growing parts of the world. But with respect to the U.S., this is a serious concern. The Premier has suggested hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk within Ontario alone, and of course that number will be compounded nationally. What we have demonstrated to the people of Ontario and to our industry and our investors is that we will be there to support them through any hardship. We've done this through the pandemic. We did this in the 08-09 recession under Prime Minister Harper and Jim Flaherty. We all will remember that the provinces and federal government worked together in the national interest to backstop our supply chain, to keep those jobs running, keep those industries humming until these tariffs could be removed or until the recession was behind us. And that's the same approach we will take, and we're prepared to make those investments, but we have the fundamentals on our side. We have the critical minerals. We have the plan just today announcing a program to build out new energy, new nuclear energy in the province. I mean, we are really leaning in to the strengths of our province, particularly when it comes to energy and resources, and we think the U.S. will turn to us, not away from us, once sober minds prevail.
And you've been very focused on nuclear and kind of re-energizing our capacity there. We will need it because electricity demand is only going to go up. Right. Do you talk to the border state governors and the business leaders about selling our electricity there? Is this a point of kind of contact that will make them allies in what could be a trade dispute?
Yes, I mean, we announced a plan to build upwards of 10,000 megawatts of net new power at what would be Canada's largest nuclear generator in Port Hope. And so that type of vision is what enables the export access. I have met with the Assistant Secretary of Energy in the White House, the current Biden administration, as well as with the Secretaries of Energy in the state of New York, meetings planned in Michigan. We are continuing a relentless, ambitious strategy of getting in front of the decision makers to make clear that our integration is in their interest. Lower prices for Americans, greater access to resources that they need for EVs and for their military and their national security interests. So we have made that case. The Premier and I hosted 40 governors as well as state representatives, congressional leaders just over the past months. We actually brought them to Darlington to see the work we're doing on time and on budget here in Ontario. So we are going to remain active, a very forward posture, take nothing for granted. Right. But obviously we need the feds to play their part, and they have a critical role in international relations. And so we hope the strategy that they'll be unveiling in the days ahead may hope to avert the tariff. But if it comes, our province and country will be ready to respond with the retaliatory measures that safeguard our jobs and ultimately stand up for our economy, because we simply just cannot accept this catastrophic and some may argue existential attack on our industry, our manufacturers, and on our people.
All right, we've got to leave it there. Great to have you, Minister. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Stephen Lecce is Minister of Energy and Electrification of Ontario. Coming up, with rents falling and home prices holding steady, will people change how they choose to live? Stay with us.